all I did is this. When I needed to up my brand and sort of evolve my brand, I went back to the strategy that I've used in sales for 30 years, the same strategy, 5-step strategy, and applied it to my health, applied it to my marketing, I applied it to every part of my business. But if you do those 5 steps and then put yourself around the right associations, then all of a sudden, you're not only a thought leader, but your brand is elevated to the point where I want to be like this person. How does somebody do this? And then you can really impact somebody's life.
Hi, and welcome to SpeakerLife. I'm your host, Lea Woodford, and with me today is a dear friend, but he's also a client, but he is a rock star speaker. Dave Sanderson is in the house. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me today.
So Dave, your speaking career came as you were the last passenger off Sully's ship. What has it been like going from, let's say, speaking for free to getting paid? And where are you now?
Thank you. It was quite a journey because, as I think you know, a lot of people know, I wasn't expecting to be a speaker. But then I had that experience when I spoke at the church that next weekend, and all of a sudden I knew I had a mission, but I didn't know what I was doing, very candidly. So I was being invited to speak at the Rotaries and the chambers and the churches. And then I was invited to speak for the American Red Cross event in Charlotte, their annual fundraising event. And I was very honored to do it because they were there that day, many times for us that day. And they raised over $120,000 that day. And so a lady who was on it's called their Tiffany Circle, their high-level event for ladies, saw me and invited me to speak in Washington, D.C., and it just happened to be the Supreme Court.
Wow.
I was still getting paid though, but I was contributing. I was giving back. That was my mission, really, just to give back. And then that happens, and then all of a sudden, I got invited to be a part of a bureau who was then saying, "We'll pay you." I'm like, "Well, I can get paid?" I had no clue I was going to get paid. So I started getting paid to speak, but I really wasn't still that good. It still was just a story about the American. That's what people wanted to hear, so that's what I did. But then it started really evolving, because what I realized was, I can tell that story and the story will be there, and that's a great story. But what are the lessons and things out of that story that people can take who've gone through another experience, like I have? So then it started to really expand, and then I started getting paid more. But my brand was still the Miracle on the Hudson guy, right? Which is fine. I will always be associated with that, and I'm very honored to be associated with that. But all of a sudden, my brand started evolving to really be more about a thought leader around the mindset of how to really bounce back, how to really do this. And then when I did my TED Talk called PTGS Bounce Back, all of a sudden it started taking a different direction. Then I started realizing I could actually be looked at as somebody who could help people get across that finish line when they're facing their challenges in their life. That was the next stage. But then the next stage, there was another stage after that, because I was then getting asked to speak at more businesses and conferences and associations. And what I realized is I could tell that story, they wanted to hear it, but what they really wanted was the strategies that I used. So I started to share the strategies that I used. That's when I wrote my first book, Moments Matter. But then it really started evolving when over COVID, where none of us were really speaking. Right. And, how am I going to continue this? How am I really going to grow to the next level? And then I wrote my book, From Turmoil to Triumph, which is about the lessons my mentor taught me. And that's the one that really started changing my brand, because now I can understand you do need somebody to help you. Mentorship is really key. Lessons that you learn through your life that you can use when the moments get tough. And that's when my brand started to really, really come into its fullest. But it really started coming around when I started doing the magazine and my last book, The Limitless Life. Because then I could really share with people deep strategies on how to really do this, because now I've done it. Right. And I think people are looking for authenticity.
Absolutely. So what advice would you give a new speaker, Dave?
When people ask me that question, what I tell them is this: invest in yourself. I did the Zig Ziglar approach. Zig Ziglar's approach was he did his first 75 or so events for free.
About done with that?
Yeah, I am done with that now. It took me a little while, but yeah, the first 75 events, do it for free. Learn your craft, be around people, and network with successful people. Find a mentor. Find a mentor, because they can. I talk about this all the time, but you can compress decades into days. When you find somebody who's walked that walk, and I just talked to somebody yesterday about this, and I told her, I said, there's a lot of people who want to help you, but you need to talk to somebody who's walked their walk and where my brand is now going and it's gone, is congruency. And what I mean by that is this. Yes, they can talk to you about speaking, right? But are they congruent? Do they walk their talk? Not only can they speak, is their life reflective of that? And that's where it's really grown for me now. And that's what changed when I went back in the Hudson River and swam with the seals. That's when this whole thing really started shifting a whole different direction.
Wow, I could talk to you for hours, Dave, but I want to lean into more about your brand because I've been working with you on your magazine, but I was actually doing slides for my upcoming presentation, and you're one of my case studies. And talk about somebody who's leading into their brand. I mean, I have pictures of us when we first met. Your brand has not only evolved, with the magazine and your website, but you yourself have evolved. Can we talk about that a little bit? You're really walking your brand.
Well, thank you. It goes back to being congruent, because one thing I realized is I was getting pretty good. I knew I was pretty good. There's always another level. Mm-hmm. But I didn't feel congruent because I was overweight, right? And I talked to people about doing all this, and I was overweight, right? I wasn't living up to what I talk about. So that's why when I mentioned going back in Hudson with the seals, because then I had to up my game.
Oh yeah.
I had to change because I tell people, and I sort of laugh, but it's true. They don't lower their standards for you. You got to raise your standards to them, which made me raise my standards. And for that, what that meant is this: I had to figure this strategy. See, I think everything comes down to strategy. If you know the strategy, you can get anything done. It's finding people who know the strategy. So all I did is this: when I needed to up my brand and sort of evolve my brand, I went back to the strategy that I've used in sales for 30 years, the same strategy, 5-step strategy, and applied it to my health, applied it to my marketing, I applied it to every part of my business. And it's 5 steps. And if I'm consistent and do these 5 steps, I will get the outcome. And that's what you're seeing now. It's we are very focused on making sure we don't miss any of these steps. And the 5 steps are: first, you have to know your why. You have to know, why are you doing this? Every part of your life. Why would you want to lose weight? Well, yeah, you're going to be healthier, but I want people to see me as, okay, listen, somebody's gone through this and he's done this, and look at his health now. Marketing, right? How we approach our brand, how we're going to do this. 5 steps, 5 steps. Second step is find your who's for your hows. And this is one of the reasons, I love partnering with you, because you're one of my who's. I have a how to market and brand better. Well, why find someone who's actually done it? Right? Who's actually walked their talk. And that's why I preach to everybody. So, number 2 is, and I do it every part of my business. I had to find a coach to learn how to swim, as you know, right?
Yes.
I found an entrepreneur coach to teach me how to do business in a way that I could be more effective. That's step number 2. Number 3, and we talk about this all the time, you got to take massive action.
Yes.
Not just take action. People take action all the time, but they don't take massive action, right? Go all in, burn the boats. Step number 4 is what really is where it comes around. Focused execution. You got to be focused on how you execute every part of your life, whether it's with your money. Because I think one of the things you may have heard me talk about is, you can't be casual with anything. Mm-hmm. You're casual with your money, you go broke. You're casual with your health, you get sick, right? You're casual with a relationship, what happens? Mm. So you can't be, I talk about, casualties come from being casual, right? I learned that years ago. So step number 4, step number 5 is have gratitude. Giving thanks to something bigger than yourself. But step number 6 that I haven't talked about, that I am talking about now, that's the one who's now changed my direction, is being around the right associations. See,
so well said.
That is, my first mentor Bill told me this, and I knew it, but he showed me how to do the right associations. He showed me how to do it, but I wasn't doing it consistently.
Okay.
But if you do those 5 steps and then put yourself around the right associations, then all of a sudden you're not only a thought leader, but your brand is elevated to the point where I want to be like this person. How does somebody do this? And then you can really impact somebody's life.
So well said. So Dave, let's talk about your brand a little bit. One of the things that I think is going to be really amazing, because I know you. And for those of you who don't know, Dave was a little bit overweight, not bad, but he just had a very ordinary look. Just your average Joe. Yeah. But you've changed. You've leaned into that brand. And when you walk into a room, people notice. Dave spoke at my stage last year or year before last. And I got to tell you, 3 women came up to me and had some really kind of fun things to say about you, that you bring a presence. And that's what I think owning your brands means. But I think it's going to inspire, especially a lot of young men who really need to learn how to brand. Let's face it, in today's world, it's oversaturated on the web. You have to have a personal brand.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a must. I knew that I had to, but I never figured out how to do it until I found the right associations, right?
It's so important.
And that's, this goes back to who's for your house, right? Tying this whole thing together. And yeah, I want to inspire the next generation. I think, and people know who know me, my focus is really the millennials and the Gen Zers. The next couple,
right?
Because, and I've said this 1,000 times. I think they're the smartest generations out there. I mean, they're extremely intelligent. What they don't have is wisdom. They don't have. And what is wisdom? Wisdom is how do you apply that knowledge, right? Well, people like you and me, unfortunately, we've been around for a little while, right?
A few times.
We've done some few things, so we have more wisdom, right?
Yes.
Because we've had to apply our knowledge to get an outcome, whether it's good or bad. My mentor is 77 years old, right? Bill, he had more wisdom than I did at 23. So success leaves clues. So I want to inspire the next generations. And if I do that, you know what? They see an old guy like me, right? Looking like I do, swimming with Navy SEALs and special ops, doing all these things. It's like, and he's what? He's in his 60s? I want to do that when I'm in the 60s.
That is amazing. You have gone the gamut when it comes to stages, but now I hear that you're starting your own stage and you're having your own event. Can we talk about that?
Well, thank you. I never thought that I'd have my own stage. I mean, I was very honored to be on other people's stages, but as you know, for many years I was with my friend Tony Robbins on his stage.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw how he did it. So yes, I'm very honored. This year we're going to do my first event in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're very excited about this. Because not only are we going to have a great event and a lot of knowledge.
This has been Lea Woodford with SpeakerLife, and that was the amazing Dave Sanderson. If you like this show, please hit the like button and subscribe button below, and we'll see you in the next episode.